as an entrepreneur, you have to know like truly what your capacity is, what your capabilities are, and be humble about it, because you're not gonna know anything from the get-go. So you have to be willing to learn. Sometimes what I see is like people might want something, but they don't want to do all the things that are required to get there. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to do anything. And that's why it goes back to that mission. And like, why are you doing this? Is it for financial freedom? Is it for so that you can spend more time with your kids? Or, like, what is it? And I think that's really going to be your compass.
Welcome to another episode of SpeakUp, LightUp. Today we have very, I would say, relevant topic, because there are so many people started to rediscover their passion, especially after pandemic, to figure out how to better self-express themselves, use their abilities, natural talents, and it is actually great to figure out how to monetize this passion. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to turn your passion into successful six-figure business. If you are resonating with this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Are you ready? Let's go. Today we have very amazing guest who is tuning in all the way from beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, blissful, yummy island, Bali. She's a sustainable fashion expert running multiple businesses, founder of This Is a Love Song. Just correct me if I'm just pronouncing something wrong. Slow fashion brand. Starting a fashion business is a mentorship, a platform, as well as TIALS Studio, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All about branding, designing, production of the fashion collection. So let's welcome Stephanie. Hey.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Val. It's an honor to be here, and I'm really, really excited to be connecting with you and connecting with your audience today and discussing this very important topic of turning your passion into a business or monetizing that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how do you keep yourself focused? Because Bali is so amazing. It's all about chilling, relaxing, enjoying. And I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs. And when I've been there, I was just like doing yoga, doing this yoga retreat. What about you?
It's funny because I feel like Bali is really the place where I can really focus. So usually me and my boyfriend, even we say like when we leave Bali is when we travel and like kind of just relax and unwind. But when we're back in Bali, we're like in focus mode. And I feel like because I grew up here, I mean, it's an amazing place, but I'm not necessarily like in holiday mode anymore, I guess. So it's good to, like, I went on a yoga retreat like 3 weeks ago and having access to that. And I think that's why Bali is so like amazing for entrepreneurs, because you can literally stay focused on your business, build and work on it. Also, if you want to just go on a yoga retreat or maybe go to the beach and have a nice sunset and unwind, there's that balance. So I feel like this is place to be. And I mean, I was in LA for 4 years, and then I ended up moving back to Bali because I just missed it so much. And I feel like it's just a place where you can be like absolutely balanced, which as an entrepreneur, it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has a very special vibe. So yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, there are so many people who are rediscovering their passion, who are connecting more deeper with who they truly are. And it's fine when you decided to make it something like kind of side things, hobby. But I know a lot of entrepreneurs, also in our community, people who are trying to figure out how to monetize their passion. And maybe you can actually share your story. How did you start in sustainable fashion and turn it to a business? Or let's say you have several businesses based on this.
Yeah, I have my sustainable fashion brand and then all my ethical production company, and also now Start Your Fashion Business, which is like the later business to help more entrepreneurs. And I guess that all started because I knew that I was very passionate about fashion ever since I was a little girl. Like I know this sounds cliche, but like look through like the Vogue magazines when I was little and like dreamt of having,
Hey.
my brand there, or, I was watching fashion TV, and, seeing the models and like just wanting that. But I thought at the time that, oh, I need to be a fashion designer. And I guess like as I grew up and I was studying, like choosing what I was going to study, I discovered fashion business. And I think from my own personal experience, because both my parents are entrepreneurs, I was very used to seeing that. And I wasn't used to, parents that did a 9 to 5 job. So I guess that was always like around for me. And I knew that that's something that I wanted to do, and I would do it no matter what. And I think there were also personal circumstances growing up where I kind of had to put in the work, I guess, because financially, like, my family wasn't really, we didn't really have like, I guess financially, we weren't very affluent, or how can you say that? So it was like I needed to put in the work to be able to get out of like my financial, how do you say, like, life, with my family. So therefore, like starting a business was something, it was like, if I don't do this, then I never know. And I cannot give up, because if I give up, I will go back to like, working that 9 to 5 job, not having that financial freedom. And because my family couldn't support me, I had to find a way to support myself. So I think like that was something I was passionate about, the fashion industry. And like my passion was to seek that financial freedom. So I think that's kind of like, you have to have your why and what your mission is, because then you can really, because turning something into a business, it's challenging, it's not easy. But when you have your why, then it also acts like your compass, right? Because when things get hard, then you remember why you're here and why you should pull through, and you will find the resources to make it work. So I guess that is my first kind of advice for anybody that wants to turn something into a business. Really like focus on your why, find out what your mission is, and then see what skills you have. Because for me, I knew I was like, I'm not really good at drawing, so I cannot be a fashion designer, but I discovered I'm good in business. So obviously nobody has all of the skill sets, right? But if you know what your skills are, you can really hone in on those skills, and then find, either a business partner or grow your team and find people that can help you in other skills that you're not necessarily good at. So I also think that's very important as an entrepreneur. You have to know like truly what your capacity is, what your capabilities are, and be humble about it, because you're not going to know anything from the get-go. So you have to be willing to learn. Sometimes what I see is like people might want something, but they don't want to do all the things that are required to get there. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to do anything. And that's why it goes back to that mission. And like, why are you doing this? Is it for financial freedom? Is it for so that you can spend more time with your kids? Or, like, what is it? And I think that's really going to be your compass.
Yeah, I think it's like a missing part. Sometimes people do really want something and they think they want, but it's not really, as you said, connected to their why. It's not connected to the mission. That's why they give up on like half road, or they're not motivated anymore, or they just start questioning themselves if it's really true passion, if it's really what I want to do. Because I think, especially when you are a solopreneur or you're like just starting, you have to do the whole, let's say, dirty work as well. Before you grow it's cool to have team, it's cool to have people who are cheering, but unfortunately very often entrepreneurship is just like a lonely journey at the beginning. So hustling is kind of it's normal part, because very often you see in social media, like, oh, getting a, I don't know, multi-million business, or use TikTok to start earning like 6 figures. I got it's good way to hype things, but the reality and truth that if you, especially if you're building something sustainable, it's not how it is. And if you are going to hustle anyway, it's great to use all the resources you have, your time, in a strategic way. So do you have any kind of blueprint or a guide how to build this successful, sustainable business? Not a hype, not something that will be over in a couple of weeks, but something that really you want to, maybe it's part of the legacy. Maybe you're building it because, as you said, it's like purpose is core, it's your core.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like sustainability, it's about, the people, the planet over the profit. And normal businesses, or like, many businesses, they just think about the profit and then the people, but not necessarily about the planet. So I think as a sustainable, especially a sustainable fashion business, it kind of is that triangle of the 3 Ps that you have to think about. And of course, it has to sustain you and the people that you work with or the people that you employ. So at the end of the day, everything really has to synchronize and work. So of course, the why and the mission is great, but don't like have, let's say, like, I know there's a lot of brands that are like, I'm trying to solve this and this and this. Don't try to solve everything, but solve one thing first. And then once you have that, whether maybe your goal is to help female garment workers, okay, do that before you go and start, let's say, planting trees. Like, you have to also think about the sustainability of your business on like a financial standpoint. So I think having a long-term goal, like writing your goals for the year, having your 3-year goal, having your 5-year goal, and then applying like the SMART goal so that you can really like measure it as well. And like that to me really makes it realistic. Mm-hmm. So then you can really put a plan of action, because of course every business is different. But I think a lot of sustainable businesses, sometimes the mission is so big and they try to do so much, and then at the end it doesn't work. So that therefore, as like solopreneurs or, anybody that's starting out, don't overwhelm yourself, because your business is not going to solve everything. You're not going to be perfect, and like have that grace as an entrepreneur. And, also dedicate time to like be creative too, because I think when you're running a business, you're just like focusing tunnel vision on like, the business side of things, which is important. But then maybe allowing one day or half a day where you can really be creative and brainstorm and research new things and find other ways to be resourceful, especially because the landscape is changing so much. So, which is exciting, but that therefore, you can't just kind of stick to the way that we're doing things now. Like, allow for a learning process to happen and connecting with, people from other industries where you can also learn from.
Yeah, that's so true. So what do you think the basic skill set an entrepreneur should develop? Because sometimes people, I see a lot of people have a job and then they want to transition. And I was like, look at my company. I'm just like a top salesperson. I'm the best marketing person. I was just rewarded for this and that. And when they start business, they're just wondering why things are working different. It's they're not really getting this success too fast, or like something is missing. So what do you think of this kind of basic skills that everybody have to think, check, maybe outsource, maybe start investing in education?
Yeah, I think resilience is one of them. Like, you have to, overcome challenges. And if something doesn't work out, don't be like knocked down and like give up. It's like, okay, got knocked down, but get up again. Like, learn from that challenge and improve on it. Like again, have that grace, because that's where a lot of people, I guess they kind of feel like, okay, well, you know what, maybe this is too hard and I cannot do this. And therefore, it is also important to surround yourself with like-minded people, especially if you are transitioning from like a 9 to 5 and you're building your side hustle that you want to become a main hustle. There are going to be people that maybe challenge you and say, are you sure? Like, oh, what if it doesn't work? And, all of those things. And you have to be absolutely sure and be very, very confident and not really listen to those people and believe in them, because you have to believe in yourself. So I do think like investing in a community, and there's so many like awesome online communities, or, like surrounding yourself with people that maybe have been there where you want to go. They've been there, you can learn from them. So either you can get a mentor or you can sign up to a program as well. Because I think as an entrepreneur, you're not going to stop learning. And I think that's also what people are like thinking about, having your own business. It's nice, it's glamorous, like you have your own like hours, but actually I work more than my 9 to 5. But I love it because it's my business. So
you have to keep yourself accountable. Like there's no somebody who will tell you, hello, you have to go and work. You just have to be this kind of person.
Exactly. And you have to really like, you have to be humble and know, okay, I'm not like the smartest person in the room, and you shouldn't be. That therefore, even for me, I have like sometimes parts of the year where I feel like I need a bit of a push. I get a coach, like you just need to really understand yourself. And I think being an entrepreneur, it's kind of like eye-opening. You learn a lot about yourself, where you're like, oh, okay, like I need to learn how to lead. So I need to be able to build that confidence and instill that confidence in the people that, you end up working with, for instance, in your team. Like you will evolve, which is amazing. That's why I think like entrepreneurship, the person that you are at the start of your entrepreneurship versus the person that you are a year later, you learn so much. And I think, a lot of people like maybe they're not ready for that. So therefore you have to definitely not see everything that's on social media, because social media is definitely more of the glamorized aspect of entrepreneurship. Because there is a lot of work. But if you think about it, you are working for your why, and your why maybe is also life-changing for your customers and the people involved in your business. And I think for me, like that's what gets me excited to wake up every day, because I get to work with clients, and then they get this amazing fashion line, and I make them happy, and I teach them about how to have their business become more sustainable. And then I have my employees who are in Bali that, are in my studio, and like they're getting a lot of like perks and fair wages. And, like these are things that I guess it fulfills me. So the business is not about me, but about like serving my clients and serving also my team. So yeah, I guess with that being said, all of those skills, that's a lot of skills.
Yes. Kind of, but
to recap, it's resilience, being resourceful, and being creative, and confidence, and eventually like knowing how to lead.
Yeah, leadership is a key, and I love what you say. It's about really investing in team. And I like recently I was approached by one magazine. It was like, oh, write about the leadership, like how to lead the employees. And it was like, I'm not really calling my team employees, because they are not. It's just a team, and investing in the key people. This is what makes you grow at the end of the day. And also what you said about the like-minded people, about communities. I think shout out to Mavian World, the Web3 space where we connected. And yeah, check, there are so many communities, amazing spaces where you can meet people with whom you can be connected, maybe share the ideas, or just cheer each other's support. This was basically you were doing, like, right? Investing your time, giving this insights to my community. So the next question is, I think, will be great for people who are trying to penetrate, for example, market that already has specific patterns, specific trends. And, sometimes we come with the kind of, we think it's a cool idea, right? Oh, I'm doing something different. I have different values. But for example, what you are doing, we live during the time of abundance, even though some people don't realize it, but we have, I don't know, different varieties of food. We have different varieties of clothing, different varieties of everything. And in this overflowing of everything, how to actually stand out? Because what you are doing is there is a mass market that has different values. And I see that there are a lot of sustainable fashion brands who are doing an amazing job and really like educating people about their purchasing patterns, about different mindset, how to start, buying things consciously. So how do you really, fulfill your mission when the market is, leading people to a completely different direction, but you say, oh, no, stop. There is a bit different way how you can do it. Still enjoy your, fashion, find your style, but do it in a more ethical way.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's very interesting. Like for us, it's always been about the brand values, because even when I started my brand in Bali, I wasn't like necessarily aware of sustainable fashion at the time, because it was many years ago. But I always, like, my core was that I wanted to keep my production in Bali because I'm from here. So I wanted to be able to like give back to the local community and support the economy. So that was always a core. And then I didn't manufacture my clothes right away by myself, because at the time, like, I was a startup and I was like bootstrapping everything. And then I think after year two, like, we had wholesale orders. And then I was like, okay, I need to open my own studio, because the factory at the time, like, we heard just horror stories of like the workers being mistreated, things like that. And that's when I started to kind of be aware of like, oh, fashion, it's not all what it's cut out to be, And then I started to get into this like hole, I guess, and discovering that, yeah, like the price of the clothing that you purchase, if it's really that cheap, somebody out there is paying for it, and it's the garment workers. And it's like once you kind of see that, you kind of unlock this whole world, and then you're like, wow, okay, this is actually like a big issue. And fashion is also like one of the most like polluting industries. And unfortunately, we do live in a society where it's like overconsumption, and like, buy the newest handbag, like buy this, you need to like every new season, if you don't have that, then it's not trendy. Like, there is this machine. Exactly. And I was part of the problem, because when I was wholesaling, I was also like, my agent told me, you have to have fall, winter, spring, summer, resort, and like just creating without being conscious about it. And then I started like almost like hating it, because it didn't feel like I was, fulfilling a purpose and making something that I was really like aligning myself with. So at that time, like, it was just an interesting shift in my business, because I was like, okay, I don't want to be part of this problem. I definitely don't want to work with a factory who mistreats their workers. So I'm going to open my studio. And also, like, a few years after that, that's when a lot of like the wholesale side of the fashion industry is different now, because of social media and direct to consumer channel. Before, you had to showcase your products to a store like a season before, and then they would buy it, and then they would be in the store. But now it's completely different, because people see it online, they want to buy it right away. So actually, that's why so many department stores even had to close or like pivot to go online, all of that. So I kind of lived through that era too. And I guess through that, I really learned like, okay, this is how I want my business to be, and I want it to be on my terms. Like, I don't want to have to create 3 collections a year. I want to create collections that are conscious. And that's why we call it slow fashion, because it's literally pieces that you can wear all year round. And like, I feel like I could only be I only became to that part of my business because of that experience, because I learned what I wanted as an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, it's okay to change. Like, it's okay to pivot your business, like it's fine to change and adapt. And I think, like, even though it's now called sustainable fashion, but in fact, we were already quite sustainable from the beginning, because even one of my first collections, I was using vintage materials and like putting the pocket on the shirt and using old materials and repurposing them. Now it's called upcycling, but I was already doing that before it was even like a trend. So I think like that was always like the core, but now there's just certain terms for it, So yeah, I guess, yeah, with that being said, I hope that answers my question.
Yeah, it's actually you're seeing this broad picture, because when you were passionate about something and you have your kind of picture in your mind, that's how it is. That's how I see in social media, as you said, or it's like in the magazine, that's how people say it is, because nobody really goes deeper. What are the problems and the issues of the industry? Sometimes people, they're different people. There are ethical people, there are not so ethical people, and people are not willingly share. That's why the show called SpeakUp, to light up how it actually is, right, in reality. And when people dive into specific businesses, like, oh my gosh, that here people are mistreated, here actually people are using really chemical stuff. And then great that we have entrepreneurs who are trying to resolve so many problems, issues, and bring industries on a completely different level. And I think one of these levels is actually the Web3. I know that you are NFT crypto enthusiast, so high five. And I know that one of the kind of expanding, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can share if you feel like to share, maybe like expanding the business in the Web3 space, that is smart move, right? But as you know, like one question is, because there are so many people who are still believing that NFT is just trend, that is going to be, vanish in couple of years. But I really truly believe that something is going to stay, the technology behind. So just your opinion, NFT trend, not trend. And second thing is, because it's about mindset. Sometimes people use it, oh, it's trend, let's do money now. And some people, there are a lot of brands and collections that is like, it's long-term thing. Let's plan for 5, 10, I don't know, 20 years, how we're going to expand and boom our business, our community, and give back. And second thing is, what things should be taken into account if somebody would love to expand into this space? Because I know there are some examples when it's kind of natural continuation who you are. For example, artists, it's a great opportunity for them. But I also know there are a lot of people who are fully transitioning from their initial occupation, and they are just like, I don't know, nurses becoming founders of the space. And there are so many different examples. So what is it for you, and what kind of, I don't know, new skills, or I don't know, maybe something things you are considering?
Okay, so do I think it is a trend? I don't think it's just a trend. I think the technology is here to stay. I've been in the NFT space since last August. It's not even a long time, but it feels like forever, especially in the
5
NFT
years.
space. There's so many projects popping up here and there. And I just find it very, very exciting because it's such a new space and everybody is so like open. And since nobody is an expert yet, I love that we're all learning together, but I'm also like a person who loves to learn something. So it's like a humbling experience. So yeah, with that being said, I guess for me, it's not a trend. Of course, there's going to be cycles where I think people are going to come in and then NFTs are really hype. And I think we had that peaking like this early this year. And then now it's kind of like going down again. But I think and that's with anything, not just NFT and crypto. There's the people that come in when it is a trend, but they don't like necessarily study the technology and, you know, kind of apply the technology as well or use it in their daily life. So they don't really necessarily get it. And so therefore they kind of go in there with this mindset of, okay, I want to make quick money. And again, that's not sustainable. You know, what's sustainable is like to make an investment and hold it long term. So therefore, you know, people come in and then they get burnt because they're buying projects that are maybe rug pulls, maybe buying like, I don't know if I can say this on your channel, those shit coins. And then they get totally, you know, like they get screwed over by these projects. So I think it's interesting because there are people that are going to like go in, hate it, or understand the technology and know how to navigate through it and make smart decisions, not based on a quick win. So I think for me, even with NFTs, like when I got in last year, you know, I didn't really know much about it, but I was willing to learn and willing to take a few hits as well. And since then, like, it's so amazing how there's so many more projects that have come up that are actually mission driven, women led. And I feel like I'm now finally finding like my community and my tribe in Web3, because before it was a little bit more male dominated. And a lot of it was like, you know, everybody wanted to be the next Bored Ape. So everybody is just like in the Discord chatting about like flipping NFTs. And that's just not me. And again, I'm a sustainable fashion entrepreneur, and like my ethos is about like building a sustainable fashion business or having sustainable investments where I can keep up with my investments and I'm not like investing my whole entire life and then losing it. But there are people that are entering the space like that because they don't have the financial education as well, I guess, in terms of managing their risks. So they're going in and thinking like, oh, wow, like I'm into
make some bucks.
Yeah. And obviously it's not a regulated space yet. So, you know, I think, yeah, it's very interesting. It's the wild, wild west, but I don't think it's just the trend, but it's going to evolve as we all evolve together in that space as well. So yeah, like I said, I'm really excited now to be part of like a few projects where it's, women led and has like a really like purpose driven, mission. So like Mavion is one that, I got into because it's fashion and NFTs, and I'm trying to learn how to kind of apply, NFTs, which is technically digital goods, and being able to apply that or merge that with a physical item. So I'm actually like right now helping an NFT project, which is like another NFT project that basically the artist has a line, like 3 items like in their collection. And once the person buys the NFT, they will get the actual physical shirt or kimono. So I'm helping them with the bridging the Web3 into the actual, I guess, Web2 space, if you can call it. So I'm just trying to get myself involved in projects to really learn how to best apply it. Because I think for fashion, especially sustainable fashion, if leveraged correctly, it's actually like something that can help fashion become more sustainable, because brands don't necessarily have to produce physical items anymore if they can create an NFT or something digital. And that allows them to have a separate economy and be able to monetize their brand without having to create products that ends up being wasted. Maybe it doesn't sell out, for instance, or like you also have to invest more resources in creating a physical product, especially with shipping. Even now, actually today, it's Metaverse Fashion Week, which is really cool. I think it's the first fashion week in the metaverse. And there are designers that are showcasing digital collections, and they don't have any physical collections at all. So I think it's going to be like a game changer for sustainable fashion. And therefore, I'm just trying to learn a lot about the space, learning how I can really apply it. I also want to apply it to my brand to some extent, maybe cutting back our usual physical production and then having like 20% of it being then, like a digital item that you can maybe wear the metaverse. So it's just exciting to be exploring all of the possibilities and also connecting with people that are also entering the space and figuring this out together. And my goal is basically for all the clients that I'm currently working with, like helping them with their production, is to help them onboard into Web3. Because I think, you know, it's easy for a big brand. And I actually saw this on Twitter yesterday. I don't know if you know Boohoo, but they're a huge brand in the UK, but a fast fashion brand. But they now have a whole Twitter dedicated for their metaverse, like their brand Boohooverse. But a big corporation, you know, they have the resources to hire an additional team without it affecting their business. But a smaller brand or like a mid-scale brand, you know, maybe they don't have those resources to open up an additional department or, you know, take people from the day-to-day business to focus on something new. So therefore, my goal this year is to be able to like launch another aspect of TIALS Studio, helping brands enter Web3 by teaching them how to navigate and how they can basically monetize further, whether it's creating an NFT collection or creating, you know, digital like outfits for the metaverse that can be monetized there. So yeah, I think it's just very exciting, and I cannot reveal too much about that yet.
Sure.
So obviously that will be launched hopefully at the Q3 of this year. But I do think it's important for any business to see what Web3 can offer. So whether you're in fashion, and it's actually even more exciting if you are starting out to see if you can start out and be and kind of like build your business as Web3 already. You know,
to bring new industries into the space. And everything what you mentioned, it's super exciting, right? And also, if in Web2 something is not scalable, I think Web3 can really definitely easily resolve this kind of issue. And it's all about like, you know, being kind of, with you entrepreneur, it's very important to be adaptable. So now we have Web3, but there are so many, it's just like every time something new is coming, whether it's technology wise, but also, you know, ability to adapt when something is changing, even economic wise, political wise, crazy things happening nowadays in our world. And I think the last very important point would be just to give some advice how to become this like adaptable entrepreneur, because it's not about to be the strongest one in the industry in order to survive or win. It's to be the most flexible and adaptable. And I think it's great. Of course, big companies have a lot of resources, but it's great to be this small or middle-sized entrepreneur sometimes, because you're more flexible, because you are more, you know, you're very fast in adapting new things. There is no so much bureaucratic also processes, but the thing is how to become this flexible and fast. And like you see, you are like, maybe yesterday we're just thinking, oh, how to produce the new collection, and today you're talking about, oh, how to bring everything in Web3, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a year ago, this was not at all the subject at all. But I think like with any business, you need to have like a clear snapshot of your business. And if you're a small business, you can have a month-to-month snapshot. And you should really know like the ins and outs of your business, what works and what doesn't work, and then review that. And what I suggest is to actually like do a trend forecasting and kind of know, okay, what technologies are coming in, what can I really use in the business? And like that way, when you see something that you can implement, you can already adapt to it. So I think that's really important. And I mean, you know, with Web3, like, it's funny because I'm part of like this, like the Vogue membership, and they started talking a lot about Web3, and a lot of the big brands like Prada, Adidas, they're already really fully into the metaverse. And I think as a small business or a mid-sized business, it's always good to look up at the bigger businesses, because whatever it is that they're doing, they're already ahead of the trend. So don't be left behind. Start studying that, analyzing it, and seeing at what level can you implement it. So then you can adapt your business ahead of time, because it will take time to adapt everything, even with the proper strategy. So I think those are my two tips, is to have that snapshot, really understand your business, and then review every month to see what you can, if you do need to make a small pivot or prepare for a bigger pivot, and look up to the bigger competitors or benchmark brands to see what it is they're doing, and then catching that trend as they're also ahead. They're a little bit ahead of it, but you're not 10 steps behind. You're only a few steps behind them.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you very much for your tips and insights. And actually, when you mentioned about like snapshot checking what big guys are doing, I think there was like a technique. It's not about like copy pasting, but it's how you can generate your creativity, how to go to the next level. Is when you just open a magazine, or it can be just listing some, like just open Google, Google, and go to some news websites and checking what companies are doing, or it can be just ads, different ads, just check what people are doing, what kind of ads, and think how you can also implement into your business, but not just like copy paste, as I said, but just have an idea. Oh, look, like, I don't know, I see there's like something inspiring. It's just like all about finding this inspiration. And besides that, what this, what your competitors, for example, doing on the market, no matter what is the size of their business is, but also just get this inspiration and creativity. And that's how you will never be stuck, let's say. So great to have this kind of transformational days for your business, and just brainstorm with your team if you have one, or just be inspired. So thank you very much for sharing your time, your insights today. At the end, I ask every single guest to imagine that you are a creator, because I believe we are all creators of our own universe. So as Stephanie, creator, what kind of message would you like to leave to people, and basically what your voice would like to project, and in a way light up?
I guess don't let anybody dim your shine. I think that's one thing that, if you are a creative, you're an entrepreneur, you have this big idea, don't think that your idea is too big. I mean, even if, you think, oh, I cannot, that's too big for me. I don't have the resources to get there. Like, don't talk negatively or talk down on yourself, especially if you voice that idea to somebody and they kind of are doubtful. Don't have that doubt. So believe in yourself, because your vision is not big enough. In fact, if your dream isn't big enough and if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough.
Yeah, I love it. I love this expression. So thank you very much one more time. And it was great to tune in at this beautiful island, Bali, meet you. And I hope today you received a lot of insights, you get some inspiration, you have lots of information, to digest and think what you can implement in your business today, or if you want to start one. So just comment if you have any questions. We will also leave the link in the description box if you would love to learn more about what our guest Stephanie is doing. And I see you in the next episode.